Now this is not a prediction, but I think Joshua versus Usyk is close to a 50-50 fight, and I will go more on why once the fight draws closer. That said, the odds do not favor the Ukrainian because there are things Usyk might have to overcome other than Anthony Joshua himself on September 25, 2021. Hey Ringsiders, what is going on? This is your host, Boxing's Objective Observer, and welcome back to Ringside Stories.
What strengths does Joshua have?
Абсолютно никаких странностей. Боксер, достаточно обученный, школьный. Странностей абсолютно никаких не вижу.
Today we're talking about 3 things that Alexander Usyk is going up against besides the obvious. Let's get into it. Number 1, the referee. On March 31st, 2018, Anthony Joshua took on Joseph Parker in a unification fight between 2 undefeated world champions. The fight, well, we can't even call it a fight looking back because of one man, referee Giuseppe Quartarone.
It was a good workman-like, wrote-out old fight, you know what I mean? He did what he had to do, went in there, he boxed, he kept it long. The referee was fucking terrible. The referee ruined the fight. The referee ruined the fight for both fighters.
With only 7 world title fights, the Italian was not very experienced. What made it worse was that the man did not even speak English. So both Joshua and Parker had difficulty following instructions. And every time both fighters got close, the referee intervened. These circumstances favored Anthony Joshua hugely because of his height and reach advantage. He was able to win by just popping out the jab all night long. Not saying that Joseph Parker would have won the fight if he had indeed been able to work on the inside, but he certainly was marginalized.
No, we're not blaming the ref, but when we got on the inside and try to work, but Kev can answer that, he tried to communicate with the ref and didn't really speak English, but I wanted to work on the inside more.
Have you ever watched a fight and thought, you know what this needs? Less fighting.
And what the hell is the referee doing? I last looked at the marquee, it did not read Giuseppe Quartarone.
If you answered yes to any of those questions, then grab your bow tie and enroll in Giuseppe Quartarone's Referee University.
I thought the referee was terrible. There was a few times in the fight, it started quite early as well, where the two of them went at it like a couple of alley cats. They got close and they just both started wildly, and when I say wildly, not recklessly, but like alley cats sort of trading with each other. And the referee just kept stopping them while they were doing it, just because an arm might get tangled at the same time or one might fall into the other. He just kept stopping it.
The Joseph Parker-Anthony Joshua fight was one of the biggest fights in the world this year. In front of 80,000 people, the fight was sold to 140 countries. It is the first time in 8 years that 2 undefeated heavyweight champions have fought in a unification fight. Don't you think that the BBBOC would have made sure that a fight of this caliber had a referee to officiate, one of the top referees in the world?
At RefU, you'll learn the art of interference, breaking it up, the thing where you stand between 2 boxers for no reason whatsoever.
I used to think it was all about the fighters, till Giuseppe set me straight.
The fact that they appointed that appalling referee from Italy, it cancelled out any opportunity that Joe had of ever being successful in that fight, and ruined it for the 80,000 people in attendance and everyone watching it around the world.
It was a little bit sterile in terms of a fight because it was more of a boxing contest, but they were both prepared to stand and trade, and the referee just kept stopping it every time they did.
A fight that on paper was going to be a great fight turned out to be a chess match, because every time Joseph closed the distance, he wasn't allowed to go to work. And there was no secret. We knew that our best chances in that fight were getting Anthony Joshua to engage. We believed in Joseph Parker's chin. We believed that Joseph's punches were faster than Joshua, so when 2 guys were engaging at the same time, we liked our odds, and we thought that was our best chance of being successful. But unfortunately, we were not allowed to do that in that fight.
That was a real shame, because I do think the pair of them were prepared to do it, but each time they did, they weren't even clenching. It sort of got into a half tangle. The referee stopped it, And then the pattern of the fight just got to the point where they'd go close and then kind of not do anything because they were waiting for the referee to stop it. And the referee was giving some terrible signals as well, to mixed messages and half commands that you could see the fighters looking at him thinking, well, what does that mean?
This has been the weirdest referee fight I've seen in a long time.
Giuseppe, you f***ed us.
Giuseppe Quartarone has never reffed a world title fight ever since. Still, the AJ Parker fight must be a lesson to not ever entertain an incompetent referee in a high-profile boxing match such as Joshua Usyk. Next is judges. At the 2012 London Olympics, Anthony Joshua squared off against the highly skilled Cuban Erislandy Savon, nephew of Cuban Olympic legend Felix Savon. Joshua, who finished in second place at the World Amateur Championships a year prior, was the number 2 seed at these Olympics. Joshua had his moments, but for most part struggled with his opponent's slickness, movement, elusiveness, and counterpunch abilities. And in my and many others' humble opinion, Erislandy Savon outboxed, outmaneuvered, and outthought Anthony Joshua, who despite the eye test, got the nod by the judges in the end. I'll put the link in the description box below if you want to see the full fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner by a score of 17 points to 16 in the blue corner.
Five years later, when Joshua was fast-tracked in his pro career, he stepped up against Vladimir Klitschko. Before the stoppage in the 11th, AJ got dropped, hurt, showed signs of fatigue, and took a very long time to recover in between. After 10 rounds, many objective observers had AJ trailing on the scorecards. Well, not according to 2 judges ringside, who, although not British, had Joshua ahead by respectively 2 and 3 points after 10 rounds. Interestingly, one of the judges was Nelson Vasquez, who in July of 2021 was heavily criticized for his wide score in favor of hometown fighter Jermell Charlo in his undisputed world title match against Argentinian Brian Castaño. So history shows bad judging in boxing is common. Even non-local judges can favor a hometown fighter. And history also shows that Anthony Joshua has had favorable judging during his career, both amateur and pro. The rematch clause. Much akin to Joshua Ruiz in June 2019, there's a rematch clause in place for Joshua Usyk should Joshua lose to Usyk. The rematch in December of 2019 was a near shutout due to AJ's stick and move tactics, but also a very underprepared Andy Ruiz Jr. Let's be for real about that. The latter will not be an issue for Usyk, even though he's moved up to heavyweight. He showed he has been a consummate professional throughout his career.
Никаких странностей. Боксер достаточно обученный, школьный. Странностей абсолютно никаких не вижу.
Yet, even if Alexander Usyk pulls the upset, he'd still have to face Joshua in an immediate rematch because Usyk agreed to this. On the one hand, this proves that Team AJ knows that fighting Alexander Usyk involves risk. On the flip side, this rematch clause means Alexander Usyk needs to beat Anthony Joshua twice in order to become unified heavyweight world champion. Again, this is not a prediction. We'll probably make one as the fight draws closer. What are your thoughts? Drop a comment below and let's have a conversation. Feel free to like and share. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell if you enjoy the content. Now, if you've done that already, you're awesome. You already know that. You are the true undisputed world champion. Till next time, Ringsiders, this is your host, Boxing Subjective Observer with Ringside Stories. Thanks for watching and have a legendary day.